And hello, Hector and JEC. Good afternoon for me. And just waiting on YouTube to get started. Hello everyone, welcome to Options with Doug, streaming live daily on Bookmap Discord and the Bookmap YouTube channel at 1:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Before I get started, I need to go through the disclosures. General disclosure: all Bookmap Limited materials, information, and presentations are for educational purposes only and should not be considered specific investment advice nor recommendations. Risk disclosure: trading futures, equities, and options involves substantial risk of loss and is not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results. The focus of my presentation is options order flow, the impact of options markets on stocks and futures, and the influence of market maker hedging flow on price action. I have a two-step process for trading, and the first is planning, and I use positional analysis. I look at how traders and market makers are positioned in the options market and how those positions change from day to day to develop a thesis regarding the expected trading range and volatility for the day, as well as a directional bias. And the second step of my process is execution, and I look at real-time order flow in Bookmap and real-time market maker hedging flow in Spotgamma Hero to confirm my thesis. And just to be clear, I will be talking about setups, and I will be talking about setups and underlyings, but they can be taken any number of ways with futures, shares, or options. And again, my planning process is based on the options market. And questions and comments are welcome, and I will be watching the Options-Doug chat channel in Discord and the chat in YouTube for your questions and comments. So please post. It'll make it more interesting for me and hopefully for everyone else as well. All right, let's get started. And JEC says the morning was fairly boring, honestly, and that's good. I'm not looking for excitement in trading. I'm looking for just to make money and no stress. All right, let's get started. What I want to cover today, news items, then I'll go through my positional analysis, and then I'll look for setups, talk about setups. So first of all, news, economic data. Yesterday, Amazon reported earnings after the market closed, and I believe Amazon is trading down a little bit. Let's see. Yeah, Amazon is down around 3.5–4% so far today. So unlike some of the other large cap tech earnings, Amazon was initially moved higher, but then moved lower. All right, so that was yesterday, and then today the PCE and consumer sentiment came out. PCE data at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Time, consumer sentiment at 10 a.m. And there wasn't much of a reaction for PCE, but I don't know if it was consumer sentiment or not. But the market did rally around 10 a.m. and we'll take a look at that in just a minute. And both of these numbers were in line with expectations and also previous reports. So nothing new there really. And then next week, of course, the FOMC meeting is on Wednesday, or Tuesday and Wednesday, the announcement and news conference on Wednesday. And then the employment report comes out on Friday at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Time. So I'll talk more about that next week. And then also next week, AMD and Apple both report earnings. So again, I'll talk about all of that in more detail on Monday. All right, let's start with the positional analysis now. Let's take a look at charts. So this is Bookmap, the ES futures, and a very bullish day. And the levels that are in place shown on this chart, and I'll talk about that in just a minute. Let me go take a look at a larger time frame first. So this is SPX. This is a Thinkorswim chart, just showing SPX price and key levels for the day. So the purple lines are showing the lower and upper edge, the expected move for the week. There's the purple dashed lines there, and then this blue dashed line is showing the lower and upper expected move for the week, for the day. And note that SPX is trading above the upper edge of the daily expected move for the week. All right, so that's SPX. Those are the expected moves again for the day and the week. And now let's take a look at some of the key gamma levels. These are shown on the chart. These are provided to Spotgamma subscribers for a variety of trading platforms. Here we're looking at Thinkorswim, and this is the put wall. I'm going to go over some of the key levels today. So here's the put wall, and that is also the key gamma strike at 4,000. And the put wall is the strike with the largest net negative gamma that can be expected to act as support. And the absolute gamma strike, or the key gamma strike, is the strike with the largest absolute gamma. And here's the volatility trigger. And this is Spotgamma's proprietary gamma flip level. Below that level, market makers' position on the gamma curve is negative, and they have to trade with price to hedge their delta exposure in a negative gamma environment. And then on the other hand, like the current environment, market makers' position is above the volatility trigger, that is positive gamma. So market makers' position above the volatility trigger is positive gamma, and that means they have to trade against price to hedge their delta exposure. So above the volatility trigger, market makers trading tends to subdue volatility, and below the volatility trigger, it tends to enhance or increase volatility. And RJ asked, did you set the expected daily move from the open data or the previous day close? And this is from the open today. So I took the expected move for the day at the open at plus or minus 22.5 points, and the opening print for SPX I believe was about 41.29. So those are the numbers that I used for these blue lines here, light blue lines. All right, so there's the put wall, the volatility trigger. That's very important to understand how market makers are positioned on the gamma curve and how they may react. And then here's the call wall at 4,200. And that's the strike with the largest net positive gamma, and that can be expected to act as resistance. So those are the primary daily levels that I follow: the put wall, the absolute gamma strike, the volatility trigger, and the call wall, shown on that chart. Now let's see what levels are in play for today with another Thinkorswim chart. This is a 1-day, 1-minute chart showing the key levels. So here below is the volatility trigger. And note the 4150 and 4160 level were both noted as resistance levels in the Spotgamma AM Founders Note. And the 4160 did act as resistance earlier today, and that actually set up a very good short there. in an otherwise bullish day. And then here's the call wall up at 4,200. So those are the levels that are in play for today, and primarily in focus is the 4150 and the 4160 level. All right, let's go to Bookmap now, and we'll see the same levels. I've got two columns of notes here. First of all, these are the Spotgamma cloud notes. Again, these levels are provided to Spotgamma subscribers for a variety of platforms. And here they are for Bookmap. These are, again, cloud notes that are updated automatically. And sometimes there's a slight difference in the well, first of all, there is a difference in the price between ES and SPX that varies from day to day. And right now it looks like Spotgamma is using a 19-point difference, and I calculated that as just slightly lower at 18.75. So here is this resistance level that did act as resistance earlier today, and I'm showing it just one tick lower, and here's the 4150 level. So I'm showing levels in my cloud notes column here, the C levels. I'm also showing big round numbers in ES. There's the ES 4150, and then finally there's the SPY volatility trigger at 411. So those are the levels that are in play for today, and note that this SPY 4111 was support more or less this morning before the market opened, and price has taken off from there. All right, so that's the S&P 500. Now let's take a look at the NASDAQ. And again, one of the key takeaways from this chart is both the ES, SPX, and SPY are both all trading above the volatility triggers. SPX above the 4110 volatility trigger, and SPY above the 411 volatility trigger. All right, let's take a look at NASDAQ now. I'm going to take a look at a similar chart for QQQ here. This is again Thinkorswim, showing the levels that are in play for today. And this is the QQQ volatility trigger at 321. And note now QQQ is trading above that level. In NDX, the volatility trigger is way further down at 12,775, 12,775. So in both NDX and QQQ right now are above their volatility triggers. All right, so that is QQQ, and there's also an NDX level that was in play today, and we'll see that on the NASDAQ chart. That's this 13,200. That's a large gamma 2, and 2 indicates that it is the scale of significance for the gamma levels, 1 through 5 being the high, 1 being the highest, 5 being the lowest. So it's a fairly important level, and it did act as resistance earlier today, plus a price target for the setup that I posted in Discord this morning. This reversal off of the QQQ 319 level, that was a hero divergence. And there was a second entry point, pull back to the 13,000 NQ 13,200 level. So the QQQ levels that are in play for today, there's the 320. That is the key gamma strike, and again there's the 321 volatility trigger. In the NDX level, that 13,200 level. And just to note, Spotgamma is using the same difference between ES, SPX, which is about 18.5 to 19 points, and the NQ NDX difference, and that difference is much larger for NQ and NDX. Right now I have NQ minus NDX at 75 points. So that is why Spotgamma is showing this 13,200 level down here, and I'm showing it up here, which is the close to the correct level. So if we just check the price for NDX right now, it is just right at 13,200 as shown on this chart here. So this is the correct level with about a 75 point difference. So those are the levels that are in play today. The QQQ 319 on the low end, and it looks like QQQ 322 on the upper end, and then the 320 key gamma strike and the 321 volatility trigger in between. All right, so that is the S&P 500 and the NASDAQ. Now let's talk about shifts in levels. And there were quite a few, all bullish. So first of all, for SPX, the volatility trigger did shift higher from 40.90 yesterday to 41.10 today. And one thing to note is the volatility trigger for SPX has hovered around 4100 ever since the April monthly options expiration last week on the 21st. So for this week, the SPX volatility trigger has really hovered just around 4100 above and below. All right, so that's SPX. That was the only level that shifted higher. And for SPY, the volatility trigger also shifted higher. The call wall shifted higher, and then the key gamma strike shifted higher. So again, all bullish. And then finally, for QQQ, every key daily level that I follow all shifted higher. Volatility trigger, put wall, call wall, and key gamma strike all shifted higher. So that's very bullish for QQQ. All right, let's take a look at the gamma levels now, and we'll see where those levels come from. So let's go to, and we'll start with SPX. What this chart is showing is the absolute gamma levels for SPX, and above the zero line, positive gamma or call gamma is shown with the orange bars, and below the zero line, negative gamma or put gamma is shown with the blue bars. And this is showing market makers' position at these strikes. So for SPX, here, excuse me, here's the key gamma strike, or absolute gamma strike, and that's pretty obvious, and that's also the put wall, the strike with the largest net negative gamma, expected to act as support. And then here is the call wall, the strike with the largest net positive gamma that can be expected to act as resistance. And then note also the significant amount of gamma at the 4100 and the 4150 level. All right, so that's SPX. Let's take a look at SPY. I'm going to zoom in on this. So for SPY, 410 is the key gamma strike. And there it is right there, the strike with the largest absolute gamma. 400 is the put wall. strike with the largest net negative gamma. And then the call wall is at 420, strike with the largest net positive gamma. So the floor at 400 and the ceiling at 420, at least for right now. And again, remember the call wall and the key gamma strike all moved up from yesterday. Alright, I usually have to do a refresh before I look at the NDX and QQQ, so I'll go ahead and do that. So we'll go to NDX now. Alright, so for NDX, there is the 12,975 strike, and that's the call wall and the key gamma strike. And it's really the only strike that is seriously in play for NDX. Note also there is somewhat of a build of gamma at the 13,000 level, and also at the 13,200. And again, this is where NDX is trading currently, around that level. All right, let's take a look at QQQ. I'm going to zoom in on this chart. So first of all, for QQQ, now the put wall is at 318, strike with the largest net negative gamma. And here's the key gamma strike at 320. And then the call wall, whoops, up at 330. So that was a pretty significant move higher in the put wall from 310 to 318, as well as the call wall from 320 to 330. And one other thing to point out, see if I can find it. Spotgamma made a note of this this morning in the AM Founders Note, noting the, see if I can zoom in on this. So what this chart is showing is volume traded. This is from yesterday in the with the white bars, and then the open interest change with the blue bars. And what they were pointing out is the small amount of open interest versus volume at the 320 level, and then a little bit of a build in open interest at the 330 level, shown by the blue bar. And they were indicating that there was this was indicating a roll from the 320 level to the 330 level, which is bullish, longer term bullish. All right, let's take a look at one other thing now. And I'm going to go back to SPX. Take a look at the Vanna model. And this is for today. And this chart has shifted back to the way it looked in past days, or last week, the last, really all the month of April, where the Spotgamma Gamma Index has been positive. Market makers' position on the gamma curve has been positive for most of the month of April. So what this chart is showing is how market makers' delta notional, and I'm talking about the light gray curve here, delta notional changes with changes in price. That's shown on the horizontal axis, and delta notional shown on the vertical axis. So this is showing that as price increases, market makers' delta notional increases, and they have to sell futures as price increases to hedge their delta exposure. And that's typical of a positive gamma environment. And then the purple line is showing how market makers' delta notional changes with changes in price and implied volatility. And that's the Vanna effect. All right, let's compare how this has changed from the last couple of days. So remember, yesterday and the day before, on the 26th and the 27th, at the beginning of the day, market makers' position on the gamma curve was negative. The SGI Spotgamma Gamma Index was negative. So I'm going to look at yesterday now and note the shift in the curve. This is really indicating more that as price decreased and implied volatility increased, market makers would have to sell futures to hedge their delta exposure. So that's the 27th. And there's the 26th. So from the 26th, negative gamma position, 27th, negative gamma position, and today, their gamma position shifts back to positive. And the Vanna model shifts back to the way it has been for, again, most of the month of April. Well, let's take a quick look at the data. And as I mentioned before, I'm going to focus on the Spotgamma Gamma Index since it's been consistent for quite amount of some time. This is a proprietary index. And it's a measurement of the total gamma, total amount of market gamma. And a positive number indicates market maker's position is positive, and that tends to subdue volatility, as I've mentioned before, since they're trading against price to hedge their delta exposure. All right, so given all this, my thesis for the day was bullish, based on the increase in the key daily levels, primarily for SPY and QQQ, and then also looking for lower volatility and a smaller trading range today. All right, let's take a look at some setups now. And first I'm going to go to Spotgamma Hero. And this is for those of you who may not be familiar with this chart, this is Hero, Hedging Impact of Real-Time Options. And RJ, I'm going to have to take a look at your question later. I'm trying to watch two chats and talk about a lot of stuff at the same time. All right, so this is the Hero indicator from Spotgamma. What I'm looking at here is the total signal for the S&P 500. This is showing the combined signal for SPX, SPY, XSP, and ES futures. And XSP is not significant, so this is showing just SPX, SPY, and ES futures. The purple line, or the white line, is showing price, and this looks like it's in terms of SPX, and then the purple line is showing options trades for all of those instruments combined into one signal and the market maker hedging activity. So that is the combined signal, and let's just take a look at the individual components of this, and then we'll focus on this chart. So first we'll start with SPX, and we'll note right now this notional value is minus 240 million. It's shifting pretty quickly, minus 220 million. So it's shifting less negative. All right, so that's the total signal. And let's take a look at, first of all, SPX at minus 396 million. Then we'll take a look at SPY, minus 1.5 billion. And then ES futures. And this is a recent addition to this signal, and it looks like it's providing pretty significant value to that total signal. So there for ES futures, this is a positive value. Market traders are selling puts and or buying calls. So the total signal is what we'll look at. So I'm going to zoom in on this chart, and we'll look at a couple of setups. So first of all, in the morning, this hero signal was confirming a long from the open. Looks like there was a dip in the hero signal, but overall heading up. And I just usually look at the general trend of hero. So heading up, confirming the long as price approached that 4160 SPX 4160 level. And let's just see what traders were doing. I'm going to separate out puts and calls. So they were buying calls from the open. This provides more clarity. So from the open, traders were buying calls net, and it looks like that was mostly ES futures. All right, let's go back and take a look at Bookmap now. We'll start at the open here. And I'm going to go till about 11 o'clock. So there's the bullish setup. There were a couple of pullbacks. The first one to the 4150 level. Again, as traders net were buying calls. Another pullback just right after the 10 a.m. consumer sentiment data. Right back to the point of control, that is the purple line that increases with that large volume dot there. And note the bullish order flow shown by this rising dark blue line and also the green volume dots showing market buy orders. And note how as price approaches this 4160 level, cumulative volume delta levels off and actually drops a bit here, even as price was making what appears to be an close to an equal high. And this set up a great short, actually wrong tool. Let me get the rectangle. Setting up this short right here, this double top at the 4160 level. So first of all, we have a long confirmed by traders buying calls in the S&P 500. Cumulative volume delta rising, market buy orders. And also note the rising yellow line there. The move higher was fueled by buy stop orders. and that usually takes a little while to get going. And then one thing to note for the next setup, which was a short, is that larger traders were fading the move, shown by this falling light blue line. That's iceberg orders, orders that larger traders use to hide their size. And that's pretty typical. They were larger traders will sell strength and buy weakness. All right, so the first setup, a long that I just talked about, confirmed by cumulative volume delta, confirmed by hedging flow, order flow, and also buy stop orders fueling the move higher. All right, let's take a look. Let's go back to Hero now. And I'm just going to scroll a little bit. Oop, thought I'd get rid of that. Scroll a little bit. So again, remember that CVD made a divergence lower, even as price made just about an equal high. Larger traders have been selling. And then finally, we'll go take a look at Hero. Go back to the total signal and note the divergence in Hero here. So Hero starts making lower highs and then makes a significantly lower high, and then price follows. So even though I was bullish for the day, this was too much to resist. I really like these divergent setups. So there was a short, a long confirmation, short divergent setup. Then a confirmation long around 11 a.m. Eastern Time. And Hero provided good signals for the first long, the divergent short, and this confirmation long. All right, let's see where, let's go back to ES now. Take a look at the whole day. All right, so now price. Again, here's this reversal higher. Again, right at point of control at about 11 a.m. as traders were taking positive delta positions, and this continues to be fueled higher by buy stop orders. And then note that the cumulative volume delta shifts higher again around 11 a.m. And you can see for this reversal lower, the pink volume dots, aggressive sellers coming in, and then as price reverses higher, the green volume dots, aggressive buyers coming in. So confirmation long, divergent short, and then confirmation long again. All right, so that's the S&P 500. And let's take a look at NASDAQ now. All right, so let me take a look at Discord, and JEC says really interesting shift in S&P SPY the last few minutes as we shift to a total negative signal for first time this morning. So let's take a look. We'll go back and take a look at this at Hero. And again, remember we're on the total signal here, so now it has shifted back to positive for the day. So I think JEC was talking about the negative signal maybe down down around here. So the shift, let's see if we can find this. So here's the zero line. Right here is the zero line for HERO, for the combined signal. So right around just between 1:50 and 2 p.m. Eastern Time. So right now the signal is hovering around zero. All right, let's take a look now. RJ wants to take a look at SPX. So we'll go back and take a look at SPX. So SPX was more bearish. Remember, we saw that ES futures was very positive. The last time we looked at it was positive 1.6 billion, the notional value. So SPX negative, and note the divergence short at 41.60 was even more clear just looking at SPX. So total is negative for SPX. All right, let's take a look at the NASDAQ now. And if we have time at the end, we'll come back and take a closer look at the S&P 500 and see what the zero DTE traders are doing. So first I want to look at QQQ. And I'm going to zoom in on this. So this is what I was looking at in the morning. And let me just see what I... So this is about what I posted in Discord this morning that set up this nice long from 319. So here is the QQQ 319. And the reversal long at that level as HERO is rising. So there's the divergence long for either NQ or QQQ. So I'll talk about setups that you could have taken for both. So first of all, let's take a look at Bookmap and we'll go to NQ. So here's the setup. In NQ, and it takes a little while for order flow to catch up. And this actually moved a bit higher than I thought it would. So there's the reversal higher at 319. Note there is a shift in order flow, sometimes not quite as clear as the shift in the ES, but note the pink dots, pink volume dots on the way down, and then aggressive buyers start to come in with the green volume dots. And then there was a pullback, another alternate entry, second entry at around the 13,200 level, NQ 13,200 level. And at that point, the buy stop orders helped to fuel the move higher up to the 321 level. Here's this is the QQQ volatility trigger at 321, and then the 13,000 NDX 13,200 level, and then also almost to the QQQ 322 and the NQ 13,300. So there was again, this is the setup that I posted in Discord. And this was a really good level to lean against. Always like to see a level in play, and it was these QQQ levels were definitely in play. And note also the QQQ 320 initially acted as resistance. All right, so that was one way to take that trade, and that was the first trade in the NASDAQ. And let's take a look at one other thing. I'm going to go to Thinkorswim. So another way to enter this trade was just to buy a QQQ call, and it was pretty cheap, 72 cents. There's the long call. Let me just zoom in on this a little bit more. And just kind of an easy set it and forget it setup. So right now, if I'd held on to it, the profit would be $179, so more than double your money. And there it is, taking profits at the top of the range, and the profit 172, again double, more than doubling your investment there, your trade. All right, so that was a couple ways to trade that with futures, or you could trade QQQ shares or this QQQ call, and this is a 0 DTE call that expires today. All right, let's take a look now at the next setup of the NASDAQ. We'll go back to Hero. And there's a divergent short. At around 10:30. So let's go back to NQ now. And that was the time to take profits in the call. All right, let's go back to Bookmap now. So here's the short setup. Note the shift in order flow here. Note both the cumulative volume delta starts falling, and also sell stop orders, shown by the yellow line, start firing off, moving, helping to fuel the move higher as traders were taking negative delta positions. And if you miss this first entry right here at this 13,200 level NDX, secondary entry at the QQQ 321 level. And let's see what we see if there was any confirmation for a long setup. This is as much as I wrote down, so let's take a look at Hero for the day, and not really much. So those are the two setups. If you're just using Hero as a confirmation or a divergence. So the confirmation, actually divergence long in the morning and divergence short after that, and that was enough for me to get day done, along with the short and the S&P 500 that I showed. All right, I've got a few minutes left, and as you can tell, I'm really focusing more on futures. So I hope that's okay. This is how I'm kind of managing my time in the morning, is just really focusing on the futures. Plus I'm seeing great signals both in Bookmap, the order flow, as well as hedging flow that provide great setups. So we'll take a few minutes and look at stocks. So Apple, there was a divergent short. Not much, not as clear as the indices, but divergent short, maybe more of a confirmation short. Actually, if we zoom in a little bit, we can see that Hero started making lower highs before price did. So let's go take a look at Bookmap for Apple. And note that 170 is the call wall and the key gamma strike. And price did not quite make it up there. And note the high liquidity at that level. For those of you who may not be familiar with Bookmap, this is resting liquidity. These are sell limit orders. Often act as a magnet for price, but in this case price reversed lower before, as traders were taking negative delta positions. All right, the next is Google. And for Google, I noted a confirmation short, and this was from this morning. And that was just first thing in the morning, then a pretty choppy signal after that. So up until about 10:15, confirming the short. Take a quick look at Bookmap. So there's Google. And the next, Meta. And let's go take a look at Hero again. Here's Meta. And strong confirmation for short in the morning, then long in the afternoon. So this set up this was a good short setup in the morning, and note I've separated out the puts and calls, and note both traders were selling calls and buying puts, shown by the falling orange line shows shows that traders were selling calls. The falling blue line shows that they were buying puts. And keep in mind that Meta was up significantly this week. Traders are buying calls. Let's take a look at something else. I'm going to go to Meta. So this is every Friday I look at this, look for potential call gamma unwinds, and note that I have sorted this list by next expiry gamma percent. And note this is today. So this is showing for Meta. And I have snow on my watch list. I really don't trade it or follow it. So Meta's the second on the list with 35% of gamma expiring today. And let's take a look at the composite view chart for Meta, and notice it is call dominated. So in the region of the price that's trading now, this green color indicates call domination. And these calls, 35%, that's a lot of gamma expiring today. And those calls will quickly lose value. During the week, when traders buy calls, market makers sell the calls. They have to buy stock to hedge their delta exposure. And then due to charm, the change in delta, as time passes, those calls start to lose value quickly, especially on expiration today, which is today, and market makers can sell their long stock hedges. And especially if traders are selling their calls, they're taking profits as well, which was what was happening this morning. Let's go back and take a look at Hero. So in the morning, this was pretty expected. This price drop, and let's just see the 240 level. The 240 level was is the call wall and the key gamma strike. So the call wall acted as resistance as expected. So for Meta, that was a pretty predictable short. Call gamma unwind as traders were selling calls and price reverses at the 240 call wall level. And now it's headed back up. Traders started buying calls again. They couldn't get enough, so they started buying calls again. And price is now heading back up to that 240 call wall key gamma strike. All right, so Hector asks, what factors do you consider to operate on an options market versus futures? I'm not sure I understand your question. Are you asking about whether you would trade in the NASDAQ setup that I showed, whether it's better or whether you could trade QQQ options or NASDAQ futures? So not necessarily. So here's the way I think about it, and this is kind of personal for me. I tend to maybe overmanage futures trades. I want to get in and get to auto break even very quickly, take profits on one contract, get to break even, and then hit a profit target pretty quickly. So I tend to often take profits a little bit too quickly on futures. But with an options trade, you can just, like I said, set it and forget it. There's no stop order. It's a defined risk trade, and you have to be willing to let price move around. So that was based on my decision. So and you can trade both. seeing the setup, go take the take both of them. True trading platforms, in your trading platform, get long, get to auto break even, then buy a call, and you're taking advantage of that initial setup in futures, and maybe you can take profits, get back in, as well as hold your long call for a longer period of time. So it's more a personal trade management kind of thing. All right, so that's Meta. And let's take a look at NVIDIA. We'll go take a look at Hero. Actually, we'll take a look at Microsoft. Microsoft confirmation long and short. Let's take a quick look here at Microsoft. Also call dominated above the 305 level. Not as much gamma expiring today, about 25%. Let's go back to Hero and see what traders are doing. So they're selling calls and buying puts. Notion of value negative for both. So another call gamma unwind. Here's NVIDIA and confirmation long. Right around 10 a.m. Go take a look at Bookmap. So there's NVIDIA, confirmation long. Took a while to get going. This is pretty typical of NVIDIA, that it does chop around often for the first 30-45 minutes. And let's take a look at Tesla. Long setup today in Tesla. Go take a look at Hero for Tesla. And not quite a strong a correlation between Hero and price action after maybe around 10:30 as usual in Tesla. Let's just see what traders are doing. So net, they are selling puts and buying calls. All right, let's do a quick check on the indices. So here's the S&P 500. And net notional value here for all the SPX, SPY, and ES futures is slightly positive, 72 million. And quickly moving around now, 95 million. And note how prices leveled off as Hero has also leveled off and starting to move lower. Price has leveled off. Let's take a look at Bookmap, and then we'll call it a day. Go back to the S&P 500. All right, so now price is trading just below the 4160 resistance level as Hero has started to move down. Take a look at NASDAQ. And price is chopping just right around the 13,200 level, NDX. All right, that's all I have. I want to thank you for watching. Thanks for your questions and comments. Everybody have a great weekend, and I will see you on Monday. Thanks again. Bye.